Well, all right, everybody. It is 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time here on the dot, and we have people showing up from all over, and I'm really excited to introduce one of my longtime internet friends as far as internet time is concerned here. This is Jeff Hunt, who is the website investor, and uh, really excited to just hear what he's going to be sharing here because, on the internet, a lot of people have these ideas that, you know, we have to start up from nothing, and then we have to build our blog and do affiliate marketing and all these things. And, when I first came across Jeff and then reconnected with him here about 6 months ago, he was telling me about some really exciting things that he's doing as far as just coming at the website space and the internet business space as an investor. And so, what if he was telling me these stories about how, you can grab a site that already has traffic, it already has a product, it already has a business model, it already has sales. And considering a lot of the struggles that I've seen people go through over the last few years in getting something started up from scratch, I thought that this would be a really compelling thing to go through here this evening. So, without further ado, let's get this thing started. And Jeff, are you there? Are you able to? Can you hear me? And hopefully we can hear you.
Yes, I'm right here, and
Awesome.
it's a privilege to be with you all. I really appreciate you inviting me on. Let's see.
Oh, of course.
Well, let's just get at it. I hope everyone can see the screen, and if you have some kind of a problem, just enter that into chat. When people ask me, what do you do, which is kind of the common question, I always give them a response something like this, and Wally, I may have even said this to you. I just say, I'm a website investor. I buy income-producing websites for passive income. And a lot of times I get interesting responses to that. People say, well, I didn't even know such a thing existed, or how do you do that? But very often people are very intrigued with that, buying websites and investing in websites. So in this hangout, I'm going to tell you guys a lot more about that. We're going to go through a money-making case study. That's an investment that I made pretty recently, and I'm going to share with you the exact details of that. We're going to talk about the challenge of starting from scratch, whether that's in a traditional business or an internet business, and then how you can actually make a living yourself, like I do, off of the profits of passive income websites. We'll talk a little bit about what passive income means, and then my step-by-step process for buying profit sites, and who buys websites, who are these investors, or besides me, who's in the market, and I hope that's what you came to hear. So if there's something else you want to hear, key that in, but if not, we're going to just jump into this. I recently wrote a book. It's called The Website Investor, The Guide to Buying an Online Website Business for Passive Income. And that won't be available in stores until April, but I just got my preliminary copies recently. I've purchased more than 300 websites. In fact, it's a bigger number than that. A lot of them are in groups, which is how I've accumulated that many websites. I also have recently written Flippa.com's latest guides to buying and selling websites. They contacted me and asked me if I could put that together for them, and I'm not sure if they've got those up on their website yet. I'm a strategic advisor to the board of Cloud Income Properties. This is a very interesting company in the space of online business procurement, acquisition, and running, and you'll hear more about them over time, I think, but they're doing some interesting things. And I earn a very comfortable living from my website holdings. I've been doing this for quite a while now. I have good feedback from the marketplaces where I invest. This is one of those. But I wanted to tell you just a little bit about my backstory. This is a picture of my family. 4 kids. One of them has Angelman syndrome, and my wife. And we had a career with IBM where we ran large-scale business outsourcing deals, and done pretty much everything we wanted to do in our career. And about 10 years ago, we decided to move overseas and minister there to students and small businesses and families. So we did that. We learned a crazy language, and it was like part Turkish, part Arabic, part Farsi, part Russian, and we worked with these folks for a long time, and then the kids grew up and it was time for them to come back and go to college. And so this was a situation, came back here, no job, wasn't sure if I wanted to enter the corporate world and even how I could do that if I wanted to, whether that would be possible. And then two, went to college at Purdue. So that was the situation, and I started thinking about, well, if not the corporate environment, then what about starting my own business? Now, I had started businesses in the past, so I knew something about it, but I just want to go through with you very quickly some of the challenges of starting a traditional business. And many of you know this. I know you follow Wally, and he talks about these kinds of things a lot. But there are all of these elements in a business, and when you're starting from scratch, it takes time, lots of time to build the product and service, find a way to distribute or deliver it, branding, marketing, systems, processes, all of these things take a lot of time, and of course they take money. But one of the most difficult parts really in any business, unless you're recreating the same kind of business that you've run in the past, is the learning curve. You're making hundreds of decisions, and a lot of those decisions are stressful because you haven't made that decision before, and so you're not sure that you're making the right one, and you don't have that confidence, and that lack of confidence in a lot of those decisions can lead to stress. And of course there's risk. Everyone knows the statistics about how many businesses get started every year and the large percentage of those that fail. Now, so how do we compare that with launching an internet business? Well, the good news is that internet businesses are easier to launch. They're a little bit quicker, and they don't require nearly as much startup cost because they don't have so many fixed assets. However, there's still the element of building a product and a service, figuring out how you're going to deliver that in a business model around your product or service, creating a website, all the branding and design that goes with that. And then the big thing is traffic, which takes time to develop. And then conversion support, all of those kind of things. So really launching an internet business, although it's a little bit cheaper and quicker to enter an internet business, you still have the same issues: time, cost, learning curve, and risk. There's always the risk, and when you're starting any kind of new business at all, that you're never going to see any payback and that you'll lose everything that you invested. That's just the name of the game. And you guys as business owners or thinking about being a business owner already know all that. That's kind of intuitive to you. But then what about these other internet methods? If you're on any kind of internet marketing list, then you'll see emails about these things all the time: making money blogging, or selling affiliate products, or doing ad arbitrage, where you buy traffic at one price and you sell them a product for more than you paid for the ads. Niche site, Kindle books, PLR, all kinds of things. What about those systems? Can't you get into something like that cheap and easy and fast? Well, the answer to that, and I know Wally put this in one of his emails, is that a method and a system is not a business. It's just a method or system, and it might be a good idea, it might be a good system, but it isn't a business. It's the same thing really as starting from scratch. And a business really only becomes a business after it has customers, after it has an income stream, when it has a working business model around some product or service. That's what a real business is. So even these other internet methods, are the same thing as starting from scratch. And so this was the position I was in. If I didn't want to get back into the corporate world and I didn't really have time or money to take another route, what would I do? And this is what I did. I bought websites. I bought sites that already had traffic, and for a website business, of course, traffic means customers. Sites that already had a monthly income. I didn't have time to wait for months or years to build up a monthly income stream. I really needed it then, and I didn't want to have the desire or even some of the skills to do website design and populate sites with articles and pictures and content. And I wanted something that really had a proven working business model, not just a system or a method that maybe worked for somebody else or maybe didn't. So that's what I did. I bought websites. And I just wanted to get into it pretty quickly with you on the call. I thank you for giving us your time tonight, and I want to honor your time commitment. And so I want to tell you very specifically, like one example of what I did. This little site, yourcareernursing.com, I actually purchased on July 4th, just a few months ago. And it's a nice little case study because one of the questions that I get very often is, how much money do you have to spend to buy a website, and what do they cost? Well, this is $400. I bought this little site for $400 called yourcareernursing.com. The site had a little bit of age. It was about 4 years old, and it had some traffic, 1,000 unique visitors per month. But it didn't have very much revenue at all, only $18 gross, and net profit after the creator calculated their cost was actually a minus $2 per month. So normally I wouldn't buy a site like this, but I saw some potential in it, and I'll show that to you later. I mean, the story of this site was this nurse had worked for many years, I mean 3 or 4 years on this site, and had populated it with more than 100 really nice handwritten articles, and she was making $18 a month, so it just wasn't working out for her, and she decided to sell it. And after I bought it, I did 2 tweaks, and here's just a screenshot. This is the first tweak I did. The top ad was right there where the red arrow is, and it was in the sidebar of the page at the top. And I simply moved it over into the text of the article because, let's face it, people rarely click on ads that are in the sidebar or the header of a website. And I knew that, and I knew that we would get probably 3 or 4 times as many clicks if the ad simply was moved into the text of the article. People's eyes move from left to right, at least when they're reading English, and you want their eyes to bump into an article at the end of every line, and that's what we did there. So that was one simple tweak. And the other thing was there was no ad at all in the center of the article, so I put an ad in the center. There was an ad at the bottom below the post, and it was a little bit small, so I increased the size of it because typically those larger ads get higher paying clicks. Okay, so this is my first tweak, ad placement, and these changes took me probably about 10 minutes altogether. If you've never done it before, it might take you 20 minutes because you'd have to figure out how to do it. But all things considered, really, really simple stuff. And here was the second tweak. On the home page, it was a typical blog, and the latest articles were appearing on the home page. And all I did was I checked the box in WordPress that said, don't make the latest articles appear, just always use the same article so that the keywords are consistent on that page. So this is my 2 little tweaks, and after I made those tweaks, almost immediately the site started making a lot more money than it had been making with the previous owner. As you can see here, this is a screenshot that I did a couple of weeks ago. So between July 4th and October 13th, the site that had been averaging $18 a month averaged about $110 a month, and by now I have my whole $400 back. So that's just an example of kind of small improvements that you can make. You can, just like real estate investors, website investors, look for sites where they think they can make some little tweaks and they see the future potential. And there are a number of little things like that. As you can see, that's not rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. And there's probably things that other people could do that I didn't even think of that would improve that even farther. So that's just a quick case study for you. Another case study is from this guy named John Schmidler. John is one of the first guys who went through my course, and his first investment was a content website. Simply, it was an age site. It was about 10 years old, had several hundred articles on it, and got really, really good traffic, and also kind of low maintenance. And the story for John was he he says he's making about $1,500 a month, but I know that he paid for the site. In other words, he got his money back within about 12 months, and everything after that was gravy. So not only did he get his money back, but the site that he purchased still has an asset value, and which means that the site itself could be sold probably for what he paid for it. So not only did he get his money back, but because he could actually sell the site for what he paid for it, that means that really he's getting about 100% return on that particular investment. Now, not every site's going to do, as well as John did the first time out, but John would definitely tell you that he chose well because he followed the principles that he learned, and he kind of avoided the scams, and he chose well, and that's really what investing is all about, whether it's real estate or buying a car or a phone or anything else. So I just want to go through that with you, and I want to tell you the basic process, and this is not unfamiliar to any of you who've ever bought anything significant, whether it was a phone or a car or a house or whatever, and that is it begins with the search process. And in the search process, you're looking for several things. I throw this picture of the Shark Tank up. I hope you guys are familiar with this show, because I love this thing. But these millionaires, billionaires buy businesses, and in this they're kind of evaluating businesses in this live on TV. And in my search process, I look at three things, which I believe are the things that they look at. One is I'm looking for a deal. This is about price. I'm looking for an undervalued property from a price perspective. I'm looking for hidden gems. This is about future potential. So if I see a kind of a fixer-upper opportunity or some tweaks that I can make to improve the income or the profit quickly, then obviously that adds to the value of the site from my perspective. And then also there are many, many strategic reasons that you might buy a site. And if you watch the Shark Tank show and you see Mark Cuban buy a sports-related site or Damon buy a clothing-related site, you know that they have strategic competitive advantages. They have resources in those areas, and so the sites that they buy very much would complement what they already know or what they already have, would make the site that they buy, or rather the business that they buy, more not only viable, but they could make it grow very quickly because of what they already know or have. And that's a reason that many people buy websites. They're kind of strategic additions to something they already have. Maybe they're in the same niche. Maybe they buy one website that has traffic, and they know that traffic would be interested in buying a product that they have in another business, whether it's an online or offline business. So that's the first key part, is the search, and a lot of the search is filtering out hundreds of listings that really aren't a good fit for you or don't meet your goals and your budget criteria and other kinds of things. And then the second thing is really simple. That is evaluation. Once you've found a few sites that you're interested in, the obvious next step is to take them through some kind of an evaluation process. And what you're really trying to do is avoid lemons. Unfortunately, in this world and many other aspects of buying a business, whether it's digital or not, there are scammers out there who either the business is a fraud, or just some part of it they're misrepresenting. Maybe it's sales or expenses or support issues or something like that. So the main part of the business evaluation is really just to understand the facts about the business. What is true about the business? What are its sales? Who are its customers? How much traffic does it get? So that you really can fully understand the opportunity, because when you understand it, then you can value it in the right way. Whether the business is big or small, whether it's a scam or the real thing, it has some value. It might be a small value or a large value. So the whole purpose of evaluating it is to come to the right conclusions about what the thing is worth, and then to see whether it's a fit for you or not. I mean, that's a lot of the key things. There may be hundreds or thousands of opportunities that have good value, but they just may not be in line with your own goals. So that's what we do in the evaluation process. And then, of course, the purchase is about how much do you want to spend and what you think the value is in general in terms of the return of the investment, and then how much the value is to you yourself, given your own situation. And then once you decide to do that, depending on whether you're buying in an auction format or you're just making a deal through a broker or with a private buyer, there's the process of trying to get a good price. For me, trying to get a good price often involves being the nicest buyer. This is something that I teach, that in transactions like this where there's a buyer and the seller, sellers are often really wanting to sell to someone that they like and that they trust. That's a key part of it, is managing that relationship with the seller as you go through that negotiation process. And of course, after you buy it, there's improvement, and the things that you've identified during the evaluation process or opportunities that you saw that attracted you to the investment initially are things that you're going to immediately do after you take over the business to increase its profits. And then you'll run with it. Now, I mentioned that, and even the title of my book and part of the title of this webinar has to do with passive income. And there is such thing as passive income. Both the John Schmidler's acquisition and then also the small case study that I showed you, both are very, very passive investments because they're content websites. They already have good content and traffic, and they make money just when people click on ads. And so those are examples of passive investments. Now, in both of those cases, there was some very, very active work early on to get those two businesses to where they are so that the income can be passive. So a lot of times passive investments represent activity in the past, and what we do as investors is we capitalize on other people's hard work by buying what they've already built and designed. And oftentimes we spend a lot more money, or a lot less money rather, than what it would have taken to actually create the assets that are part of that business. And in point of fact, the nursing website, if you calculate the number of hours spent by that nurse to create all the content on that website, it would have been worth 5 or 6 times what I paid for it easily, maybe more than that. So that's, but part of the valuation process for web businesses is based on what their current income is, not how much the owner invested in time and money to get to where they are today, but how much it's actually earning is really a key component of that calculation. Okay, so using this process, I've acquired a whole bunch of websites, and I'll just give you a few examples. One of them is a software site that brings in $700 a month. I love the software business. Some of the biggest companies by asset value or by capital value are software kinds of companies. If you look at like the top 10 most valuable businesses in the world, several of those businesses are purely software companies. Others have software as a large component of their sales. That's because once you create the software, your only cost is support. You don't have any physical product costs or limited physical handling, and so you're just very profitable from that point on often. So I love software. Amazon affiliate sites. I'm not an Amazon guy per se, but I bought into an Amazon affiliate business, and this set of sites had many thousands of visitors every day. Made a lot of money off of those sites. News sites. One of the very first sites I ever bought was in the Google News business. And I love news sites, and I made the decision at that time, am I going to create a Google News site from scratch, go through the process of hiring writers, getting it approved by Google to manual approval, or am I just going to buy one? And I bought one, and it was a great decision. I made a lot of money on my very first news site investment, and since then I actually have built these sites from scratch, and I show other people how to do the same, but it was after I've already learned all the ropes, having bought a working one and actually seeing how the thing operated and how it was designed and built. Lead sites. Lead sites are great because there are companies all over the place who pay good money for a lead. A lead is simply a name, an address, perhaps a phone number of a particular category of person who's interested in a kind of product. So home remodeling companies like Anderson Windows, or kitchen remodeling companies, those kind of things. Dumpster rental companies, magic shows, entertainment brokers. All of these people are willing to pay very good money for simply a name and an address of a qualified lead. and that makes the sites that collect those leads, worth a lot of money. So I love those kind of sites because, again, it's pretty passive. You get people to come to the site who meet the criteria of the lead buyers and get them to fill in their name and address, and you send it off and you get the money for it. And there are automated ways of doing that. Now, I've got to mention, I had a number of sites that were total flops before I learned the ropes, where I bought a site. In the early years, didn't really know what I was doing, didn't know how to ask the right questions, or even sometimes what questions to ask, or how to evaluate what I was hearing from the seller, and I didn't know some of the tricks I know today in terms of cross-checking documents against each other, and the other techniques that I use. So some of these are flops, and so I wish that I knew today what I knew back then, what I know today. And then many, many more sites of various kinds. And I wanted to take you through this just to kind of give you a flavor of the diversity of the different kinds of businesses that are available, and just let you know that it's possible to pick up sites that are very different than what may be in your particular skill set. And if they're working and they don't require a lot of support, it's much easier to learn from a working business that already has customers, a business model, a product, than it is to sort of envision that and build it from scratch. And there's two kinds of on-the-job training. You can tell your daughter who wants to drive a car that where the wrenches are and the parts store is, and she could go build the car and then drive it, or she could start with a working car and you could open the hood and show her the parts. And I believe in business that the latter is the much better way to go in terms of learning on the job, is to learn from something that's already built and working, rather than building the thing up piece by piece. Of course, if you love that kind of thing and you got plenty of time, then you can take that approach as well. So just wanted to go through, those are kind of the kinds of website opportunities, and there are many other business models, and you've run into them in your own journey on the internet. So who are the kinds of people who buy websites? So I'm going to go quickly through that, and this is sort of a random list, you might think, but one of the categories of people that I've seen who really get into buying websites are real estate people. And I think it's because real estate people are used to doing deals. They've seen a lot of properties and transactions and buyers and sellers, and they're not afraid at all of doing a deal. Now, they may not have any technical background at all, but that doesn't bother them, and there are ways to outsource tasks and find help and buy sites that don't require much at all in the way of technical support. And so real estate people are one of the prime categories of people who buy websites. Another one is small business owners. Once again, they have experience with different aspects of a business, and they can look at a website business and ask the right questions. They understand who the customers are, where they come from, why they visit the site, what kind of product is being sold. They can sort of visualize the challenges with delivering a particular service, or appealing to a particular audience for a product. So this is very common. I have several clients who are small business owners that have done very well with a brick and mortar type business, and either want to get out of that, or just want to add to that, or find something that complements their existing brick and mortar business. Another one that might be surprising to some people is retirees, but guess what? There are a lot of, the average age of people who express interest in my course is higher than I would expect. I would think that it might be the young guys who are looking to buy websites, and of course there definitely are some of those, but actually there are a lot of people who have either retired or are going to retire, and they've got money in the bank, and they see the potential, and so they want to learn how to buy websites. Work-at-home moms, the whole work-at-home crowd is interested, and the logic appeals to them of, do you start a blog from scratch? I actually had breakfast with a young man this morning. He's a day trader. He works at home. He's only 20, I think he's 26 years old, and He's really, really interested in how you can get into the website business quickly, and so, I talked it through with him. And then another category, of course, is internet marketers, and it's kind of interesting. The same guys who are selling all of the methods and systems, for making money on the internet are finding that there's a lot of value in websites that are for sale. In fact, some of the value complements what they're doing already. For example, when you have internet marketers that make their living off of a list of email addresses, they're finding websites for sale that have a list that they can leverage for other things, or they're finding websites that get traffic in the internet marketing niche, and they, and even though they've sold products on how to attract traffic, they don't really know how to get traffic, so they buy these sites so they can get that traffic. So that's just another category. Of course, there are many, many categories of people, but I just wanted to list those for you just to kind of give you an idea of an appreciation of how people are thinking about the opportunity to get into website investing. So all those kinds of people and more, end up being intrigued when they hear about the opportunity of buying websites, because for most of them, they've never really thought about it before, and you're probably in that case as well. You may have thought about it, you may not have, you may be sensing that it is an open door that perhaps you've been looking for a while to get started online or to really ramp up your efforts online. But statistically speaking, there are two problems. One is that most people listen to a presentation like this and they don't take any action. That's just, I don't know who's on the call specifically, but statistically, the vast majority of people just take in information and don't do anything with it. And then the second challenge, if you do decide that you want to get into this and you've got some good info now and you can probably go out and do some searches and actually get started, is that mistakes can be costly. And that's how it was for me. And so I want to help with both of those problems. I really want you to get started, because obviously getting started and taking action is the thing that separates successful people from unsuccessful people. And I also want you to do it in a way that's quick, that you can do it with confidence, and you'll have all the tools that you need to really succeed and limit your risk. Because in this kind of a business, even from the word investment, people are probably on their guard a little bit. They're worried about what that means. That means spending money, risking money, and so on. And guess what? There's always a risk anytime money leaves your hand. However, there are great tools that are available to limit that risk and really ensure your success. So that's why I'm really pleased to introduce to you this Own the Web product. This Own the Web is a very professionally done set of videos that goes through the process that I explained step by step. And let me just tell you a little bit about what's in the course, because I think that as you listen to this, you'll learn more about what it is to be a website investor, what are some of the opportunities and challenges to do that. This course material is laid out in a very clear way. I wanted it to be step 1, step 2, step 3, that kind of simplicity, so that people can know where to begin and what they should be doing next. So the material in the course is very consumable, as you see here, and with encouragement along the way, in case you get stuck or don't know what to do. And it all starts with finding the winners. This is really the key thing, is where do you find these opportunities to buy? And I provide my personal list of sites, the ones that I go to when I want to buy a site. I help you wade through. Well, one of the challenges in finding a site is that there are literally thousands and thousands of opportunities, and where do you begin? And that's part of what this course tells you, is like, how do you separate the good ones from the not very good ones? And you don't have time to read thousands of listings, so how do you do that? And even, how do you find websites that maybe aren't for sale, so that there's less competition and you can get a better price of them? The second thing is business models. I've been exposed to all kinds of internet business models, and in this course I just share overviews of each of the primary business models, how different websites make their money, and what they do and don't do, and kind of the pitfalls to avoid in each of those. And I call it Renaissance Investor, because it's kind of like the jack of all trades guy, and to give you an overview of what all the different kinds of website models available are. And then, this is the kind of thing that you can listen to part of it or listen to all of it. As you choose, you might just want to hone in on a single business model that's more appealing to you. And then the next module is sizing up the opportunity. This is that evaluation process that I told you about earlier. How to avoid the scams and the lemons. This is really key. You got to be able to ask the right questions and be able to interpret the results. You know, are the screenshots faked? Why is he really selling this website? Is there something wrong with it? What are the opportunities for me in this website investment? So this is the kind of thing that we talk about in sizing up the opportunity. This is really part of the key part of the course, because this separates the men from the boys. Those who can evaluate the opportunities well will always come out ahead of those who can't, because you'll know how much to pay, you'll know if it's a good opportunity or not a good opportunity versus everybody else that is competing with you for the site. And then, of course, a very practical model for valuing the site, getting down to brass tacks and having an equation that helps you calculate how much a website is worth, both how much is it worth in general and how much is it worth to you. And then how you can win the auction with that, with those same techniques once you've figured out how much you want to pay. Part of the questions that come up in everybody's mind who's new to the process is, you know, how do you actually do the transfer, and how do you keep everybody safe and make sure that you got what the seller promised and all that. And a big part of that answer is there's an escrow process, and escrow vendors who, just like if you're buying a house, they hold the money. They protect both the buyer and the seller just to make sure that everything transfers and that the seller gets their money and the buyers get everything that the seller was promised. And this course talks through how that works and what you need to look for in the escrow period to protect yourself and make sure you got what you bought. And then after you own it, then what do you do? And this course gives you the things to focus on next. Your initial steps as a website owner, how you go after those quick profit improvements that we talked about, and then how do you keep the thing profitable and under control, and just a whole lot more. Lots of other modules in the course outside of that, like international domains, and do you need a formal LLC business or another kind of business, and over-the-shoulder case studies, a lot more video case studies where we're looking at you know, evaluating revenue and traffic and those kinds of things on websites. So, you know, the question is, what is this course worth? And I can tell you that it really is one-of-a-kind training. You're not going to be seeing this from other people. You know, although there's a marketplace for this kind of thing, just people just aren't teaching about this, and it's kind of surprising. And what's it worth to be your own shark? I mean, I've been on both sides of the shark table, I can tell you, and it's always more fun to be on the shark side of the table. And access to me. I'll share a little bit more, but part of what you're going to get is access to me. And so, what is this worth? You know, many of you probably haven't ever thought about this particular direction for your business, but this could be, you know, I hate to use the word life-changing. It sounds too cliche, but it could be a very significant change in the direction of your business if you decide to get into investing. And the answer to those questions is the price today in the webinar only is $297. That price is only available in the webinar. We're not selling this course outside of the webinar, and this is where you get it, wallythewebguy.com/profits. Okay, and it is limited. Not sure what Wally plans in terms of taking the link down, whether it's going to be immediately after this or whether it's going to be, you know, a period later, but it is going to be limited, so that link will not be around forever. But that's not all. Okay, that's the course, and I guarantee you that the course price is worth a lot more than you pay for it. You know, one bad investment would cost you a whole lot more than you would pay for this course, and the course will definitely keep you away from those bad investments. But the first bonus, in addition to all that, is in case you want to sell. Now, I'm more of a Warren Buffett kind of a guy, buy and hold. I try to buy profitable things, and I don't buy them with the intent to sell usually, but you know, along the way there are times when you might want to buy and sell, and I do have good experience selling. I've got a good reputation selling as well as buying for the times that I've decided to sell, and that's what I teach in this bonus. Bonus number 2, finding low-cost buys. One of the consistent questions I get is, can I find investments for a low cost? So there's one a bonus module dedicated to the places that you can look to find lower cost website bargains and how to not get your money taken by buying things that you want them to be inexpensive, but you don't want them to be cheap or of no quality. Then the Website Investors Inner Circle, and I would say that this is the most valuable bonus of all of these because it's access to a private community of investors. Some of these are very experienced investors, have been buying these kinds of businesses for 10 years or more, including myself in that group. And some of them are new investors, and it's a community, it's a closed group that you'll get as part of this course. That's $159 value at least, probably maybe worth more than that for the kind of answers that you'll get. And then this technical training library, this, passive investor is not looking to do a bunch of technical work, but just in case you need it, there is a library. It's like 60 different videos covering lots and lots of the basics of things that you might run into with a new website acquisition. And then these bonuses by themselves, how to sell a web business, finding low-cost sites to buy, the inner circle with some access to me where I chime in that inner circle regularly, and the technical resource library are worth more than the course is worth, or price, $350 alone. But then I'm also, in addition to these things, offering for Wally subscribers a one-on-one Skype consultation. And this is just something that you can take advantage of. Tell me your situation, what you're doing with your current business or hobbies or interests, and why you're interested in website investing, or get feedback on a site that you've decided that you want to buy, but you want a second set of eyes and an experienced opinion right before you make the final decision, or even just advice on how to improve your current business. However you would like to use that one-on-one consultation, that will be available for you if you buy now through this link that's on your screen here, wallythewebguy.com/profits. So that's it. Here's another client of mine, Ian McLaren, also a great guy. He got involved in the news business and also now in website investing and buying websites himself. He mentions there that I just have this thing when people buy I support them with emails, and there are certain things I promise, like the consultation, but I typically go a lot farther than that, because to me one of the main reasons that I sell this course is because I'm interested in relationships and partners and people who take my classes I end up getting to know personally, and often I do find ways to partner with those people. It's certainly not a guarantee of something that I would do, but it tends to happen. That's what drives businesses, relationships a lot of time. So here's a couple of questions that are asked often, and one of those is, can someone completely new to operating websites do this? And once again, I showed you John's picture, told you about his first investment. This was actually his concern. He wasn't a tech guy. I mean, he wasn't a complete newbie. He's, has a computer, he's on the internet some, but he'd never run a website before. And so I showed him in the module about outsourcing how he could find writers, how he could find guys who could make WordPress tweaks to a site, and then the pieces that he could do himself when he needed to do that. So the answer is, yeah, absolutely. If you're new to operating websites, you can do this. Now, there are going to be things, vocabulary that you haven't heard before that you need to learn and understand. There's perhaps, depending on what kind of site you buy and how passive or active the tasks are, there may be things that you don't know how to do and that you'll have to hire out, or you'll have to take the time to learn. But I guarantee you that learning, the things that you need to learn for improving a website or for fixing it are much, much less than things that you would have to learn if you were starting from scratch and building the whole thing yourself. And then the second one that I get asked very often is, if the business is so great, why are they selling it? And my wife loves to ask this question. And you know what? There are a lot of reasons why people sell it. It's the same kind of reasons as to why they're selling. They might sell a car or house or a phone or something like that. It's things like there's a life change, or they need cash, or they're bored of it, or they're moving on to something else, and they would like to, or they have too many businesses of different kinds and they can't keep up with them. So it's all those kind of things. And of course there might be some people who are selling a business because it's on the decline and they want to get out of it, and it's they think that its glory years are over and things like that. So those are all real reasons why people sell, and it is important to try to get underneath that, and that's part of what we teach in this Own the Web course. So again, if you're interested in the course, wallythewebguy.com/profit, so you can get it at this price. And just real quickly, here's a review of what's included. 32 videos. Actually, I think it may be more like 40 now. If you like to read and don't watch, there's transcripts of the videos, and there's MP3 files if you prefer just to listen. There's notes at the bottom of every page, so there's kind of an index to the videos as well if you need to scroll forward or go back and review and try to find something that you heard before, weren't sure exactly where it was. It's all laid out in a step-by-step, very consumable format, and there's case studies. And then the bonuses, the free one-on-one consultation with myself, you can set that up early on after you buy the course, or maybe you'll want to do it later on after you've had a chance to actually look at some website opportunities to evaluate whenever you want. And then of course, in case you want to sell, that teaches you how to sell for a high price, finding low-cost website investments, and then the inner circle. Don't forget about this one, where you have the opportunity to interact with other experienced investors and other new investors, and of course the technical resource library. So that's what we've got for you today. I'm not sure. I haven't been monitoring questions. Is there anything that we need to address, Well?
Yeah, so first of all, this has just been awesome. Jeff, I want to just say thank you for presenting this to everybody, because first of all, the package you've put together, just so everybody here on the call knows, I've gone through Jeff's course. I really, really liked what he was talking about. I've taken his strategies and applied it to things that I'm doing professionally, and I hope it's okay that I share this, but I reached out to Jeff actually and said, hey, would you be interested in being part of this team that I'm putting together to do due diligence on these websites? And his answer was basically respectfully, no, I can't, because I'm working with cloud income properties, and I have to honor that commitment. And I said, well, hey, that's great. What else do you have going on? And so he was able to put together this this package here for you guys. So for me, I thought it was just we'd be remiss if we didn't let everybody have the opportunity to take advantage of this, because a lot of people don't take action. But I'm looking at the attendees who are on this webinar right now. I've spoken with many, if not all of you, one-on-one at least once during our relationship, and I really believe, like you do, Jeff, that it really is all about relationships. You don't know where things are going to go, but business is this constant conversation, and looking for ways that people can add value to each other. And so I really like what you've put together here for everybody, and I think it's really valuable. And a couple of things that really stuck out for me, I guess, is just, first of all, how transparent and real you are, both in this presentation and also just through the course. You've really set it up so that it's safe for people to go in and, even if you're on a modest budget, but you want to create an extra income stream, that's available to you. The other thing is, I liked your philosophy of just making yourself accessible to people, and going and being the nicest buyer in the room, sort of thing. And so one question that some people might have is, how long does it typically take for your new student to go from taking your training and starting this program to having a site that produces income?
Well, that's interesting. You can spend money really fast if you want. In fact, if somebody were really aggressive, they could buy a site before the end of the evening. But that's not what happens. People typically, and they get into the training, they spend some time watching the initial videos, and what we like them to do is to watch the videos about how you search, how you narrow down your search, and then start actually signing up to get listings and start browsing listings. And that's what I encourage people to do, is just get a feel for what is out there and kind of how those opportunities are presented, and what starts looking appealing to them based on their background or their interests. And so that usually takes some time. I mean, people are start doing that for a week or 2 or 3. It just kind of depends on how fast they want to move, and what they find early on. I mean, some of them find things that they're interested in very, very quickly in the first few days, and then start the process of kind of diving in a little more and starting to ask questions of the seller, and look at their, the traffic or revenue documents they might have. So it really varies. And then other people, they're really, really conservative, and they spend a month or 2 months just kind of wading through everything and looking at lots and lots of opportunities, and not bidding on anything, until they find something that they just feel really comfortable with. So it kind of varies a lot.
Sure. And I know that you can start investing in websites with different price points and stuff like that. So what do you think is your average price for a website versus, you want to give us a range, maybe tell us, hey, here is, what I think some of the low-end ones are and what that looks like. Here's a couple of the higher-end ones that I've done and what that's looked like, and just give us an idea of what some of these deals look like, because my understanding of the marketplace, as from what I've seen and what you've showed me, is there really is kind of a range, and it's just like real estate. There's a lot of different aspects that you want to look at.
Yeah, and let me start by answering that question in this way. I mean, I think that most people who jump in, they don't want to start big, and that's wise, not to to spend tons of money on their first one. And so I think most people who jump in, they decide that they're going to start kind of small, and so small varies from person to person based on their own budget. But a lot of guys like who actually have money in the bank, maybe they've done well in their careers, they've saved money for a while. They tend to jump in at between $3,000 and $5,000 on their first purchase, because $3,000 to $5,000, they can pick up a site that's earning maybe it's earning $200 a month, or it might be earning as much as $600 or $700 a month for that amount. But so something like that, and so that's enough of an experiment for them. And then me personally, as you see, I pick up some very, very low end sites. If I showed you one for $400, if you go below that, if you look at like the $100, $200 sites, those aren't businesses, because they really don't have traffic, and they don't have an appreciable income stream or something like that. So you can't, if you go too low, you can't expect to make $100 a month and buy a site for $100, or nobody would sell it to you. So that's kind of the explanation for the very low end. I mean, I've bought sites that cost me as much as $40,000, and a lot of my sites have. If I looked at the average transaction, it's probably between 8 and 10. But sometimes I kind of hate to state figures like that, just because everybody's different, and the average varies based on if you've bought 10 little ones and one big one, or you bought 10 big ones and one little one. So it's kind of hard to say.
Well, and I think something you've touched on something that's important, and that's really the why I was thrilled that you were putting this together, where people can actually speak with you personally about it, and that's that some people have a Warren Buffett approach, and they're looking to build a portfolio and create income. Other people are taking more of an approach where they want to build something up quickly and then flip it again. And you've played in all these different spaces, and for everybody here on the call that takes advantage of this offer here today, you'll be able to go in and look at some of these opportunities, take them through the filters that Jeff gives you, and then look at those opportunities and sort of not just think, with the person in the mirror, hey, is this right for me? But you'll be able to, ask Jeff, hey, here's what I think I'm doing. Can you put your second set of eyes on that? And I know for a fact from the types of investing that I've done that probably the smartest thing that I've ever heard anybody say that's held up forever is you make money when you buy, not when you sell. And that means that you buy something of value at a good price, and then you can cash flow it and sell it for more later.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, let's take, because everybody heard the little case study of the $400 site that I bought, and it's now making $110 a month on average. So I could sell it, and it's almost the anniversary of the 4-month anniversary of when I bought it. It's completely paid for itself. And I could sell it now for absolute certain for like $800 and probably $1,200 or $1,400 based on $110 a month of income, that kind of a multiple. And so that means that if I were a flipper, I would have quadrupled or at least tripled my my investment in 4 months. So that's if people do have that flipping mindset, or if they get into it and they need some cash later, they want their cash back out of it, that's always a possibility, assuming assuming the site has stayed stable or grown some.
Right. No, this is great. So I really thank you guys for being here today. Jeff, I thank you for being here. One of the things that occurs to me as I look at this too, if you've been a student of any of my stuff, which I teach a system and then we apply it to businesses. And so I saw what you had here, and to me it was a match made in heaven, because if you understand even a little bit of how the master key formula is applied to businesses and online businesses, and then you go and find businesses that you can purchase at a good rate by using your stuff, you sort of have this 1-2 punch going on. And so just looking at some of the names again of the people who've attended here, I know I've spoken with almost each and every one of you personally, if not every one of you. So I would definitely highly encourage you to take Jeff up on the offer here. It's a very modest investment for what you get out of it, and start working with him, because he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing, and then you'll be in a better position as far as your own business portfolio goes.
Yeah, and people have to evaluate these things for what's right for them, but I guarantee you that there will be a lot of value almost irrespective of what situation that you're in. So I hope that that works out. Now let me just throw out one thing that when I listen to webinars like this, for example, I listened to it was like this stock trading guy. He had a stock trading system, and what was going through my mind the whole time was, well, if your system is so good, then why are you selling a class? Why don't you just make all your money trading stocks, right?
Right.
And so, I have that question regularly, and I assume people have that question about this as well. And the answer really goes back to relationships. It's like I found so much value and actually so much fun just in interacting with people that that's a core reason why I want to do it. I mean, I do make money on it, and I for a living I buy websites. That's just what I do. And then I've leveraged my knowledge of how to buy websites by making a course out of it, and that's just a basic business principle. You take your assets and you leverage them in any way you can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've done here. So and that's part of what I teach as well. Oh, so I don't know if maybe nobody even had that question in their mind, but I always do. So
No, that's awesome because I'm like you. I always ask that question, and at the end of the day, it's exactly what you said. It's you want to leverage everything that you have in business, and um, relationships are huge, like you've said, and I love that that's a core principle of yours because it's definitely one of mine. And it's also one of those things where you could be the best stock trader in the entire world, but Warren Buffett alone cannot find and source all of the deals on his own. There are more, it's a huge world of opportunity out there, and so that's just another reason. It's like he might as well pass on all of his information because it's not like he's going to run out of deals to do on the stock market, and obviously you won't run out of deals to do in your core business here, and so it's great that you're sharing this stuff, and yeah, I definitely would encourage everybody on the webinar to take advantage of this if this fits into your overall strategy.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Wally, for having me on. Love to come back at any time if you do these kind of things regularly, because there are a lot of different elements to running an online business, and so love to participate in whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff, and thanks for everybody here who's been on the call today, and look forward to seeing some of you take advantage of this offer.
Okay, thanks, Wally.
All right, you got it.